And we're live. Welcome everybody to this week's Gain LinkedIn Live. I'm your host, Zoe Koumbouzi, and today we're joined by two Gain advisors, but they also share the AI practice here at Gain. So welcome Vincent, Somsen, and Michael Goldrich. How are you?
Thank you, Zoe. Thanks for the invite. Good to see you, Michael. Good to see you, Zoe. Looking forward to this short chat.
Ditto.
Fantastic. Me too. Super excited. So today we're talking about AI and hospitality, hot topic, which is your specialty area, both of you. And although I've spoken to you quite a bit, we're colleagues, I don't actually know how you got into this space. I don't know the background behind it. So if we could kick off with that first, it'd be great to know what piqued your interest and how you got into AI and hospitality for the travel, hospitality, and MICE industry.
I guess I'll go first. I've been working, thank you, Michael. I've been working in hospitality for all my life. I was born in a hotel. I've done my education in hospitality. I've worked for Marriott, Hilton, and I always came across these very routine and mundane tasks that I had to do working as a front office agent or as a supervisor or as a duty manager, really on the floor. And ever since ChatGPT rolled out way back then, I started to find use cases that I would have loved to have when I was still working on the floor. So that really sparked my interest, to be honest. What about you, Michael?
Well, unlike you, I was not born in a hotel. I was born in a hospital. So when I was in graduate school, I was in a PhD program at Northwestern. That's when I saw Mosaic, the first internet browser, and I said, that's the future. I want to do that. So I shifted everything I was doing, and I went to work at Starwood and digital marketing for them. So then in November 30th, 2020, when I saw, or 2021, when I saw ChatGPT, I'm like, you know what? How I felt about Mosaic, felt the same way about that. That's going to change everything. So then that's when I spent a lot of time to invest and learn about this. I wrote about it, wrote a lot about it, wrote a book about it. And since I've been in the hospitality space since 2004 with Starwood on, I'm like, you know what, this seems like a natural fit. This will really help the commercial strategy teams really drive more revenue and be more productive, efficient, and effective.
Absolutely. Yeah, I remember that first aha moment when AI came on the scene and was available, and it was like amazing. So today we're going to talk about Microsoft Copilot. Now, the last time I used Microsoft 360 was over a year ago now, when I was last in corporate, and we didn't have Copilot. And so I'm really curious, and I feel super lucky today to hear about how it's changed, what it's doing, how we can implement it, what all the fuss is about, because it's obviously an absolutely key system for business and specifically for hospitality, which is what we're going to discuss. So when it comes to hospitality, why is it so important?
All right. You want me to go first? Oh, Vincent,
yeah,
you go.
Go for it, Michael. Go for it.
All right. So one of the big things is I've been, I was hired by the HSMAI Foundation to do generative AI research for sales, marketing, and revenue management departments on how they're using generative AI in terms of professional development, recruitment, and retention. And one of the things I hear a lot is do no harm. And a lot of hotel companies I hear are kind of afraid, particularly with ChatGPT, because you don't know when you use the information, like who else can see it. It's not private, it's not secure. One of the things about Copilot, which you're asking about, it is like using Word, it's like using Excel. Although it's feels like a chatbot, it is safe and secure. And that's one of the huge advantages of using Copilot, in addition to the fact that it's integrated into all the Office 365 apps.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that makes perfect sense. I think, if any businesses have been slow to adopt, I would kind of bet that it's because of the privacy issue and worrying about how people are using it. Is my data going to be safe? Is it going to leak out? So thank you for covering that. What about you, Vincent?
I think what sparks, again, my interest is really the operational efficiency or productivity, which Michael also touched upon. So creating a basic email or replying to a guest or drawing some conclusions from an Excel spreadsheet. You're going to do anyway, right? It's not like, okay, that Copilot came in and now you can do that. No, people could already do that in a fantastic way. But now you can do these tasks in a more reliable fashion. And what I mean with that is drawing upon experience or, for example, a past employee that left, so you can reuse the business logic that is still in the hotel or the hotel group, so it doesn't leave. And you can do it in a faster way, right? So instead of taking 30 minutes to an hour to analyze a spreadsheet like maybe the past bookings or something like guest feedback scores, okay, you can use Copilot or another AI solution, but that's a Copilot as an example, to really do that in a faster fashion. So I think that's what I always think about, is these productivity gains, low-hanging fruits.
Right. Yeah, I think, what you're saying about staff leaving and taking the information that they've built up in the company with them is a really interesting point. Are there any other kind of real world examples that you could give me where, we can really kind of associate it to any hoteliers listening, like this is how you can use it in your organization, apart from what you said?
Well, so with Copilot, so Copilot has a couple of different flavors, let's just say. So you've got Copilot, which is like the chatbot, and then in an Excel, PowerPoint, Word, you can click the Copilot icon and it can help you specifically with those applications. So in terms of training or whatever, like say you've got a huge PowerPoint, right? That's maybe a orientation document or why someone left, you can spend the whole time reading it, or you can just click the button to essentially summarize it all. And so you can kind of get up to speed much quicker. So I think the onboarding of people is significantly faster, and you can ask questions of the document. So typically there's friction in terms of you reading a PowerPoint, you have additional questions, maybe you missed it. Now you can ask the document the question, so you can actually be more self-help, which I think is huge because it allows people to scale up much faster.
Yeah,
that's amazing. Yeah,
and I think specifically, for example, let's take a general manager, or let's go through a couple of roles. As a general manager, you can create reports basically instantly using multiple spreadsheets, PowerPoints, notes, briefs, pull all these sources together and create that summary that Michael was also talking about. As a sales director, let's say for a property, or a cluster sales director for maybe a couple of properties in a city, you can think of creating a personalized proposal to a client. Again, almost instantly. Of course, you're going to need to tweak it a little bit, but it's again, it draws on past experiences, on templates, and it combines it then with that new client that you're trying to get a proposal to. Same goes for human resources, right? Creating performance templates or reviews, or even analyzing them. You can go on and on in the use cases basically. But I think what is really important here, and I think we'll touch upon that later as well, is to really understand that sure, you have Copilot that you can buy licenses for, but it's really important to first of all train your staff accordingly, which Michael, I think we can talk about a little bit more with the program that we developed. And secondly, also configure Copilot to your organization, because with any software nowadays, you can buy licenses and turn it on, so to say, but it doesn't stop there. To really extract the most value possible, you need to configure it to your specific use cases, to your specific data rooms, and also regionality, of course, right?
Yeah, but before I pop into the whole AI literacy program, there's a philosophical question. There's a change management exercise that needs to happen, because this technology saves time. That's unquestionable. So now let's say you have an 8-hour day that you can actually get work done in 7 hours. So the real change in our industry, in all industries, and this is the disruption, is how do you spend that extra hour? And that's one of the things I asked a lot of the commercial strategy leaders, like, how would you want people to spend that hour? Do you want people to go home an hour earlier? That's work-life balance. Would you like people to hang out an hour by the water cooler? That's culture, that's organization. Do you want people to spend the hour doing more work? That's productivity. Do you want them to spend an hour doing professional development? That's upskilling. Or do you want them to spend the hour doing the Google 20%, where they do a side project that can drive value to the organization themselves? So that is that hour. And that really is, that's the change of thinking that needs to happen across not just hospitality, but all industries. Like, how do you want people to work? And then as managers, as leaders, they have to realize, okay, this assignment, this work used to take like 8 hours, now it's 7 hours. So now they need to kind of manage differently. So that's just a management exercise. Yeah. But in terms of what Vincent was talking, so we put together this literacy program, this AI literacy program. It's more than just prompting. I mean, prompting is part of it, but you have to understand, what is AI versus generative AI? How does it work? What is the ethics? What is AI responsibility? What are the dangers? You know about hallucinations, but also there's a danger of persuasion. This technology is super persuasive. So how do you work with that? And then you have to understand, okay, so you have that. How do you identify use cases? How do you work with with Office 365? How do people use it? Because AI is a tool, but a tool in your toolbox that's not used is a wasted tool. So you have to figure out what it can do, what it can't do. And then we get into image generation, we get into automation, we get into agents, we get into AGI, we get into AI personas. It is a great program, the best program. It's the only program out there that does something like this, and it is in person, and it is phenomenal.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Thank you. I'll sign up for the next round, whoever it's with, because I think AI literacy is something we're all looking for, because let's face it, you know, unless you're very intentional about it, you are just getting snippets here and there of what AI is and what it can do and what's the best platform. You can go out and you can learn for yourself, but to have some kind of, you know, mindfully put together curriculum. Yeah, I love that. And I was just thinking when you were speaking as well, Vincent, that, you know, one of the applications that I personally, as a product marketer, I know that we're not talking about marketing today, but I'll jump on it.
You could talk marketing.
Yeah, it covers marketing as well. Of course it does. You know, I mean, to be honest, I feel like marketing is the old school use of AI. We were like the first, we're like the pioneers, the marketers, because generative AI affected my industry so much. But, you know, as a product marketer, you know, having new releases or as a marketer, like having a brand name change or a logo change, like the insane amount of work that is to go through everything, to change the name, to change this, to change that. Now to be able to do that almost at the touch of a button, obviously, if you've programmed it right and you've set your systems up right, is like mind-blowing, because that kind of work kills creativity. You know, I know that I'm at my best as a marketer when I've got time to be creative, when I've got uninterrupted periods of work, when I can really get down to it. And that kind of nitty-gritty stuff, it really bogs you down. So I'm a fan. Okay, so you know, we've talked a lot about Microsoft Copilot, and I know that it's not the only AI platform.
But we should talk a little bit more about Microsoft Copilot, I think, even before we go on, because one of the huge advantages, as we talked about Microsoft, is because there are other chatbots out there. I mean, there's Anthropic, there's Gemini, but what Microsoft is really the true power about it being safe and secure, is the integration. And it's because one of the challenges a lot of these like chatbots or whatever is the friction, and also the fact that it is the accessibility as to like really knowing when to use it, when not to use it, and the best way to apply it. And I think how Microsoft has done it is very unique and very special in terms of how they just kind of, it's fully integrated into the solutions. And as hoteliers, I mean, one of the things is we have so many tools. There are so many tools out there. And just going to try to, you just don't want to make people think. You want to make people as easy and efficient for them as possible. And how it's been integrated across all the applications is really powerful.
Yeah.
And people grew up with Microsoft, basically. Well, at least my generation, right? So employees are already accustomed to all of this. It's just a minor addition in terms of their workflow, and everything that is related to Copilot will be familiar. Whereas if you would choose perhaps a different tool, I'm not saying that's worse or bad, but you have to take into consideration a certain learning curve that with Microsoft Copilot will be much shorter.
Vincent, do you want to talk a little bit about the Knowledge Graph project that we're working on?
Yeah, certainly. There's a couple of projects that I think that are relevant. We're working with a couple of hotel groups that have challenges getting their large language model. In this case, one of the hotel groups is working with Copilot to really train them and utilize them on their specific use cases, right? In this instance, they're getting very limited results, and it's and that's due to configuration, basically, and application to their specific use cases, to their roles, to training. So that's where we come in, right? We advise them and implement Copilot use cases and configure them on their entire company. Yeah, and I think this is also where the AI literacy program comes in, right? Because to do all that, there needs to be a basic understanding for employees to use AI in general, and that will really help their ability to go about these tools.
Right, and in terms of that, our program we put together, we have a flavor that's just Microsoft specific in terms of really leveraging Office 365, and we go deep into Excel, we go deep into PowerPoint, as well as the overviews, as well as all the other aspects as well.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting to think that you are educating this, like you said, this is an ecosystem that we've all grown up with. Now you're educating people to make that next leap. There's, in a few years' time, everybody's going to know how to do that, right? It's going to be, there's going to be a generation that's actually grown up with this. Just the thought that I was having. I thought that was interesting. So anything else you'd like to comment about Microsoft Copilot? Because it is pretty awesome. And we are here to give everything about it.
Michael?
Go on. I think just one of the things is, sometimes I've talked to hotel groups that just kind of roll it out, like just kind of turn it on and then they check the usage. I think that the best way to do it is to educate people what it can do before you turn on the license. If you really want to see the ROI on that, because if people don't know how to use it, they're not going to use it properly. And the other thing that's really important that I've seen is the executive team, the leadership team has to use it and experiment it and see the value. If they don't see the value of it, and maybe the team does, then it's any sort of implementations beyond that are always going to falter. So it really starts with the executive team, starts with the experimentation, and it needs to get pushed down.
Yeah, and if I would add to that, I think you have one chance as an organization to do this. Because if you go in, let's say you turn it on, you get some licenses, send out one email saying to your employees, yes, we got these licenses, go at it. You're going to receive a lot of pushback. Again, because it's a relatively new technology for people to use. So you're gonna need to have a broader strategy before you turn this on. Also because you're in 6 months' time, the organization has been going through all of these friction points with people that don't understand it and criticism. It's a long way back from there, is what I'm trying to say. So get it right from the start, and you could argue that it could become a competitive edge of yours, right? If you get it right from the very start.
Yeah, and to the other point, you want to avoid the skill gap. So as the younger people come into the workforce, they're going to be leveraging these tools throughout high school, college, and then when they start working. And if you have a subset of the company that is not embrace it and understands it and upskilling, then you're going to create a huge disconnect within an organization. So it's important to create a benchmark, and a foundation across the entire organization of understanding, because it's new. Just like when word processing came out, or Excel came out. I mean, you just need to have people understand the technology. You don't want skill gaps in the organization. It is so important to give everybody a common thread of understanding.
That's right. And I think it's one of those things, I mean, there can always be resistance to change. And I agree with you that you must have executive buy-in for any technology that you implement in any business. And to, as part of change management, to have the right communication at the right time to ensure that people really understand how it's going to benefit them. It's not going to replace jobs, et cetera, et cetera. What's the reason why we're doing this? Like you said, Michael. And then also these 6 months that you may waste by not implementing properly. Imagine if you do it well, the competitive advantage that you have, because I really feel like with these technologies, it's about the early adopters. If you're an early adopter and you really get to grips with this type of technology and you run with it and your competitors are not doing it, your productivity is like here and they're here. I mean, it's insane. Everybody will catch up at some point, be that in 6 months.
No, they won't. They won't. I mean, it's like a race, right? Once someone starts running, if you wait,
we'll never catch up. Yeah.
AI delay is organizational decay.
Say that again so I can get the sound right.
AI delay is organizational decay.
Love it. That's going on LinkedIn.
Again,
exactly. You're like, it's the early adopter curve, and I think we're looking at that now. So it's one of those things. Just get with it. Get with AI. Okay, so Microsoft Copilot. Other AI tools that you think deserve a mention that people should be aware of, should possibly be looking into?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of hospitality-specific AI tools that people should be looking at. Not only because they're my clients, but also because they add real value. There is a company called Levee, Levee. They basically let housekeepers quality check the hotel rooms. Take a device like an iPhone, get the housekeeper to scan a hotel room, including a bathroom, and their proprietary model basically spits out a quality check. You're missing a towel. You're missing the shampoo. There's 3 guests staying in the hotels or in the room, so you're going to need to add a towel. Or the bed is not made properly. Well, you can fill in the blanks, right? There's a couple of other, there's a lot more AI tools to hospitality, and I've mentioned this one previously as well. But Michael, do you have any recommendations?
So one of the things is a group I work with called the Hotels Network. They've created a voice agent called Kit. So one of the things we know in hospitality, calling the phone, it takes, like, if someone's checking out and the front desk is kind of on the phone versus giving that person that one-on-one attention, that kind of creates a negative experience. So if you can take that and essentially automate it so you can allow the personalized services to happen, so you can take a lot of these calls and, first of all, reduce the time to answer. If you don't care about what the handle time is. Like before, like when I managed call centers, you try to keep the handle time down because you're paying per minute. But, if it's up to a bot, who cares how long it's taken? And actually, the more time you have on it, the more information you can gather as to what people care about. And you can use all that information then in terms of either augmenting your site or augmenting sort of communications or promotions, and then look to upsell people as well. So information is power. So that's why I think, like, right now when you have call centers, you don't really know exactly what people are calling about. You get a summary, but now you can actually know full details. And if you have it and it's real time and it feels like you're talking essentially to a person, very powerful.
I love that. And I love the move towards having this diversity within hotels where, just depending on, your guest preferences, you can have that kind of low touch environment. Personally, I'm of that side, like don't want to be unsociable, but I kind of am. Or you can have the meet and greet, but if your staff are constantly tied up, you can't have that, right? So anything that relieves staff, yeah, that's good in my books as well. Thank you. So if you had to give 3 actionable tips to improve AI strategies for hotels today, what would they be? Please stick to 3.
Okay, I'll start again, Michael. Sorry. Really start with teaching your employees the AI literacy. So really the basics of AI, really to understand what this technology is about. Second, don't start too big. Don't overhaul all your systems. Start with small projects. And I think third, really try to configure these kind of industry agnostic tools like Copilot to your specific use cases, because just turning it on and expecting miracles to happen is not going to happen.
All right. So for me, I say number 1, you need to budget for this AI literacy for 2025. That's number 1. Number 2 is when you're looking at people that you bring into your organization, because now people can be upskilled and onboarded very quickly. You need to hire for curiosity. You need to hire for critical thinking. Those, I think, are the 2 most important attributes of people joining an organization, because then if they're adaptable, they can go ahead and do anything. And then 3 is, I guess, Microsoft. I mean, organizations that already are on Microsoft, you have Office 365. It's a no-brainer to add Copilot and versus looking at another tool, because it's already implemented. So I think that is one of the things you just need to start with, and you need to start with a small group, really get the base understanding, then scale from there.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. So we're wrapping up the end of the session, but it's been super interesting. I think we could probably talk about this for hours, let's face it, and maybe we will another day. But yeah, it's been great having you both. And for anyone listening, you can contact any of us on LinkedIn. We're all part of GAIN, and we would all love to talk further about any of the topics that we've covered today. So send your questions, connect with us, and see you next time. Thanks both.
Goodbye, everybody.
Take care.
So long.